All right, so you guys will see a code up at the top of the screen. We'd like to make this interactive today. So if you'll go to menti.com and put in that code, you'll be able to participate in the interactive features. You can do that on a desktop computer. You can do that on your phone, either way. Oh, did my code disappear? Let me make sure it's on screen here.
You want to maybe put that in the chat as well?
Sure.
Thanks.
All right. So today we are focused on career. So we want to talk about the state of women in technology and what the statistics say. We'll talk about career options in RPA, both on the technology and the business side. And then I've invited a number of ladies to join us and talk a little bit further about their career story. So you guys could hear some examples and ask them questions. And then we'll talk about resources to get you launched in your RPA career if you're just getting started or if you want to further things along. So to get things started, make sure you've got menti.com pulled up. And then please answer the question, what would you like to learn or get out of today's session? If you have any issues with Menti, feel free to put what you'd like to get out of today's session in the chat. We'd love to hear more from you and to make sure this is focused on what you'd like to hear. So far, so good. We've got all that covered. Anyone else like to hear anything specific or have a specific question answered? All right, we'll cover that also. Awesome, so far so good. And Courtney, I'll be covering that today. All right, we'll give it a few more seconds. And if anyone didn't get a chance to put all of the things that they'd like to hear about, feel free to throw that in the chat. All right, so I'm going to start by talking a little bit about where things are at today with women in technology on the whole, and then specifically in RPA. And then we'll talk a little bit about careers and then allow our team of ladies here to speak. So first, here are the statistics. Now, this includes all of women in technology, not just RPA focused specifically. And there's a bit of a lag in the data. The most recent statistics are mid-2010s. Just the nature of government statistics, they're not super timely with getting those out there. But as far as women in science and engineering, men, as we all know, continue to outnumber women, and that's even more pronounced at the upper levels, so in the managerial levels and above. Currently, with 2013 being the most recent year, women are just 26% of those folks in computer technology. That is where it was at about 1960, so it's significantly smaller than it was 30 years ago. So surprisingly, since the 90s, our population of women in technology and specifically in computing has gotten smaller and smaller. So we're all here hoping to change that around, but that's where technology is as a whole. Now, with the UiPath State of the RPA Developer Statistics, That the numbers really reflect just about what we saw a few years ago, that of those parties that answered the survey, 25% were ladies, 75% still men. So hoping to change around that trend. And here is what you have as far as each job title. So a large portion of folks are in RPA development or students wanting to learn more about RPA. And then definitely you see a smaller and smaller percentage, just as was mentioned there, in the managerial and higher ranks of RPA. So obviously we want to see women better represented in technology and in automation for sure, which is why we're all here. So the statistics that are out there, there's some excellent white papers, and I've referenced some of those here at the bottom on what we can do about changing this trend. So they mentioned reducing the influence of gender bias, and that's more of an organizational thing, but doing our part to spur our companies along and doing better there. Now, and the last two are all of what we're doing right here. So one, we want to make computer technology and engineering more social, that this is, we're part of a community. We put our time in, we're all here supporting other women, but that this is a part of your society and you're representing yourself. And then we want to make sure that women feel like they belong in technology and in automation. And so that's what we're here for. This is what automation looks like, is all of us. It doesn't look like somebody else that's different than us. So to that end, if each of you would turn your video on screen, we want to take a group photo together so we can continue to show other ladies specifically and the community of automators on the whole that these are the faces of automation. All right, let me change around my view a little bit so we can take a photo. Do I have any volunteers on our host team here to help us take the big group picture? If not, I can, once I've got my view properly here.
I'll take a couple, Tracy.
All right, I've still got, they're still making everyone's heads really tiny. It wouldn't be the best picture for me.
Yes, I'm trying to.
All right, so you'll give us a countdown. We'll all get ready.
We'll have a few more turning on their cameras. I know
All right.
sometimes Zoom's very tricky trying to turn on things and then turn it back off. It's
Yes.
okay. It's
Yes,
understandable.
it is. It was not cooperating for me.
Okay. So is everybody ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and say RPA. Okay, I'll do one more just to make sure, we all have like always the second picture. Okay. Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Okay. I think I got it.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So really just being present, participating in community events and activities, especially being on video and showing the world, your family, your kids, that this is what automation looks like, is one of the 3 key ways to spread the word and to make it normal, just like we see in college these days, that the majority is now female. We'll get there in automation. So career options in RPA, people tend to think of being a developer, and there are a lot of developers in RPA. Not enough for sure, that companies are searching for them all the time, and it's the hottest technology in the enterprise these days. But there are actually a lot of options that are not technical as well. So certainly we have folks that lead an RPA organization, so RPA directors, and then managers of groups, including implementation managers to make sure projects go well. We have folks that participate in Center of Excellence, help create those, or help look at processes for being candidates for automation. We also have business analysts that are a great bridge between the business and technology, normally have great communication skills. We also have on the more technical side, developers, solution architects, and technical consultants, along with folks that focus on infrastructure, on getting things set up on-prem. And then citizen developers, you don't have to have a specific career in RPA. All of us can be that if you just want to get things done a little bit better, or even personally, if you want to spend less time doing things that are a waste of your time. And then we have folks on the sales side as well, where you don't necessarily have to be technical at all, but be able to tell a good story about the value of meaningful work. So I wanted to make sure that we spent the majority of the time today hearing from real people and how they got into their career specifically, and give you guys the option to ask them questions throughout. Feel free to get off mute whenever you'd like. I also wanted to hear from all of you before we got into that, what your career trajectory is in RPA. So let us know if you currently have a career in RPA or you don't, so we can make sure to cater the conversation to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eureka. I'm out of Atlanta. And I currently do not have a career in RPA, but I just, I guess I've been in my first tech ever position. I guess I'm going on 2 years, and that's been with, well, it's sales. So it's not a technical position, but it's with cloud migration in that arena. So I'm very interested in robotics. So, you know, transitioning. So I'm looking forward to learning as much as I can from everyone.
Awesome, thanks for speaking up. There is a lot of automation geared toward the cloud. So a huge amount of stuff out there, and that can help you perform cloud migrations better. So that might be a way, you know, just doing what you already do better, or starting to dabble in some of the technology on that side might be an easy way to transition for you.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. Thank you.
All right, we'll give it a few more seconds for you guys to answer about what roles you're currently in.
So for folks that are waiting, if you haven't checked, you can go back to that menti.com that Tracy shared earlier. If you're using your phone, she would have popped up the second question.
So it should be right there at the top of the screen. If you do need to go to menti.com, you enter that code, you should be able to submit what role you're in. All right, let's move on to the career stories. And first up, we have Courtney Dominguez.
Courtney Dominguez, and apparently one of her cats has decided to participate. I don't know about you guys, but this whole time change thing, like it's normally 6 o'clock, right? So it's her dinner time, and she's decided she's going to come let me know that that I should be feeding her as opposed to talking on a webinar right now. So we might get another cameo or two from her. I apologize. So I'm Courtney Dominguez. I am a RPA delivery leader. I think the thing that fit kind of nicely with the slide was RPA manager or lead. I've worn a few different hats, which I'm happy to talk about. And I've been working with RPA since about 2017. I've had the great fortune of working for a company that was starting an RPA program, and they tasked me with getting that up and running. So my role was to get the RPA program started up. We had both RPA developers. We had a shared service center, so we had RPA developers both in Miami and in Costa Rica. And it's been a great program and still going on. I left there a few years ago in order to go out, and actually now I work as an independent consultant. So so I left there because I decided I love to stand up these programs. I love to make things more efficient. There she is again. I love to make things more efficient and just help companies do things better. And so for me, it was a great fit. I guess going back a few years, so I've had the both the experience running and standing up my own program, as well as now helping other companies do it. So I've had practical experience both as a individual and a practitioner, and now from a consulting perspective as well. I love the question about, do you need to be a developer or an IT kind of developer? Because I am definitely not. So if I go back to my, core experience, I am a business analyst by nature. I started in IT, but I have about probably 50% of my time both in IT and 50% of my career in financial operations. And as many of you know, a lot of RPA initiatives begin in the finance and accounting area. So my background in finance and accounting kind of lended itself naturally to the RPA space, and helping both the company that I helped stand up the program for, as well as other companies identify opportunities for automation. So, and my degree is in finance. My degree has nothing to do with IT. I came out of college and went into one of the big 4 consulting companies, and worked on financial implementations, so large ERP implementations. And then that transitioned from IT into financial operations. And now I kind of think of myself as a hybrid between the two. I can certainly talk on the financial and operational side of things, really. I mean, I don't consider myself a finance person, but really more of an operational background. And then being able to translate those requirements into business requirements into IT requirements. And then really focusing on the delivery side of things. So making sure that, companies understand what makes a successful RPA program and what's really going to drive it forward. So, there's a lot of companies out there that start with RPA, but they don't really know where to get started. Typically people internally to a company don't have that experience. They don't know, they might know a little bit about RPA, but they don't know what makes a successful RPA program and how to really get that going. So I think that's a really important thing. And I think it's a critical component, right, to getting things started. So I found that's a need in the market and something that companies really look for. And I guess as far as being a business analyst, from a traditional business analyst standpoint, I think that there are certain, again, my background is in ERP implementations and large software development initiatives, which is different than the type of BA work that you do for RPA initiatives. So it is working with BAs and helping them understand the detailed requirements that you in order to be able to develop an automation. So there is in traditional BA, what you would traditionally think of as a BA role to a automation BA, because it is, more detailed. You have to have the step-by-step, you have to have the details versus in a traditional software development environment. It's just different where, you don't necessarily have all of the step-by-step details when you're writing a requirements document. And that's really critical in developing automation. So I think UiPath in particular they offer a lot of great tools, especially from an analysis standpoint. So they have a lot of great tools that lend really well to a BA and being able to develop the actual step-by-step. Personally, for me, Automation Hub is a great tool, being both able to capture and prioritize opportunities, as well as capturing those step-by-step details. So I think that's a great BA tool as opposed to a developer tool. I think that's a great BA tool that helps you really identify the opportunities, prioritize them, and then get all of the steps documented, and really working with the business as well to capture that pipeline of activity. So yeah, so happy to answer any questions about that. Save them to the end, drop them in the chat, but I'm happy to answer any questions about being a delivery lead, functional consultants and a BA and starting programs. But I'm so happy to see the question out there about, do you need to be a developer in order to have a career in RPA? Because I can definitively say the answer to that is no, you do not have to have an IPA, right? That's already thinking about beer, an RPA or an IT background to start your career in automation.
Courtney, what do you consider the toughest part of your job?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I think a lot of times especially when you're working with a company that is new to automation, it's helping them understand what automation can and can't do. Automation and RPA are great for a lot of things. It's not a silver bullet, right? It's not great for everything. So I think helping companies understand what automation is good for and where it's a good fit, and the capabilities of it. So I think that education component, training, change management is very challenging because, and that's not unlike any other type of development opportunity. But the technology, I always say, is always the easiest part. So the technology will do exactly what you expect it to, as long as you define the requirements correctly. But it's all of the other things that go along with it, which are the change management and helping the business understand what they're going to get out of it. Those are always the hardest part. So the technology will do exactly what you think it's going to. It's all the other stuff that's difficult.
All right, other questions for Courtney? All right, let's move on to Priya, who's a solution architect. Please tell us about your career path into RPA.
Great. Thanks, Courtney, and thanks, Tracy. It was really good to know how to become an RPA leader or a delivery lead there. So that was really good look back. So looking at my career, I would say, like, looking back, I started my career a decade ago, but in RPA just in 2017. So when I started my first job in IT, I started as a .NET developer. So I do have the developer background coming around. So I started for the very first time to code like in C#. And back in the time, the word developer actually means like, I'm also going to give you a definition or my perspective of each of these roles. As in a developer, when you take a look at that, somebody will give you the design and the requirements are already laid out and they are given to you. So all you have to do is just build it out for them. So it's pretty simple. All you have to do is just like follow the documentation and just build it out. And then like I started looking in and like, like women in general are very creative and we have this kind of spidey senses that we can think like 5 steps ahead. So I always think of that as like a superpower of all the women. And when we do that, using those superpower, I was able to see that like I can also like take a look at like what the business analyst does. So they are basically just like writing down everything that the user gives as requirements. So they are just documenting everything that's being given as requirements. So I ventured out into that area as well and like played as business analyst role. So all you have to do is like keep your eyes open in all those areas and then like you might see yourself doing those kind of roles, whether or not like, like you don't have to be certified or like you don't have to be like really like studied for these jobs. So these are like truly available. And then I realized like when you have like solutions that need to be built out, you have to have that logical thinking. And that analytical thinking is what like brings that problem solving skills onto the table. So when you put all of that together, that is the role of a solution architect who can actually look at the enterprise problems. A customer comes to you with a problem, you're able to see like the requirements and also like put the pieces together. So for us to be able to really think it through and say like, okay, is it going to work long term? How can we like transition this into like, let's say like for right now you have it on-prem, like on a physical server. How can you think of the future for the cloud or for the future for like a mobile application? So if you're thinking it through in long term and solutionizing it in such a way, and also if you have like a larger team, like how do you give it in terms of like, the term called DevOps, where you split those requirements into specific components that each developer can work, and solutionizing into like more modern and like more efficient way that's more like abstract that can be easily built, that becomes a solution architect. So in my case, like when I started like being a solution architect, I was actually like looking for more challenging opportunities, which is where like I learned from an interviewer looking for like an RPA developer role. And I literally asked her, like, can you spell UiPath? She just said UiPath. And I asked her to spell it out for me so that like I literally learned the spelling from my interviewer. Sorry, excuse me. So from there, I was able to like learn UiPath from scratch. And I went through the academy, like did all the exercises and did it multiple times, challenging myself. And then like from there on, like from where I was as an RPA developer, I was able to transition myself into a position of a solution architect just by taking a look at like, what the customers want and being able to think it through as a solution. As the customer is telling me the problem, I'm able to think like, okay, there are 5 other additional ways that I can solution this. And when you like talk to other developers and like they have better ideas, being able to accept that is what makes you a great solution architect. And I would say like everybody is like, like we are all born with like all these like skills. So all these roles that Tracy just mentioned in RPA are all like skills that you can acquire. Those are not talents that we are born with. So any of these roles, you can actually like learn and develop into those roles. These are like man-made roles that can be like easily acquired. So all you have to do is like put some effort, learn from each other. And like, again, like you don't have to like wait for the perfect moment for me to become like, a RPA delivery head, like a RPA manager. Probably you can promise yourself that like with these roles or with these kind of stories that I've heard, that's how like I was able to like get inspired and say like, okay, these are all the experiences that I need to be on this role. So that truly like helped me in becoming a solution architect. So any questions, people? We've got a really nice crowd.
Anything very surprising that you found that you didn't expect in the solution architect role?
I think personally, most of the time that when you try to propose a solution, there might be like challenges from the business, like saying like, why don't we do it? Like, they might have heard this buzzword somewhere in a conference or in a video, and then they come back and say like, hey, why don't we do that? And then you'll have to have that knowledge to back it up and say like, these are the reasons, these are the pros and cons, so that we lay it out and say like, okay, this is why this solution is better. And we even like actually have to brainstorm like and entertain the idea of the possibility of whatever technology that they bring in. So those are like the major challenges that I have seen in most consulting areas.
All right, other questions for Priya?
I was just going to ask, so based on your experience or, where you are right now, where would you tell someone that's totally, green and starting, where would you tell them to start? Or is there like a roadmap or anything?
So in terms of roles perspective, I would say like it's each person's career aspirations. Okay. So if you're into sales, you can like start becoming like, RPA marketing. And like, I would say like the best person to talk to is like Cynthia, or, you can reach out to Diana. So there are like each roles has their own stepping stones, and like all the roles that Tracy actually mentioned has like a starting point. For me, it was the RPA developer. I would say like from the academy, I started with the RPA developer program. So if you go to the academy, there's this whole course plan. It gives you like 21 courses all together put down.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Sure, anytime.
Other questions for Priya?
For Priya, I do have a question for Priya. Priya, I wanted to know, with your role in particular, how do you understand the big picture of RPA, like within an organization?
Yes. So I would say that takes multiple coffee breaks with the SME that you're talking, because like it doesn't happen with just like one session. Like we do like one workshop and like, okay, I've got everything. Like it's not like I'm not the robot. I'm just building the software robot. So like what I do is like I try to go back and talk to them like multiple times to be able to understand like what's their vision that they are trying to align to, because each company has their own digital transformation like vision and mission. So when each of their vice president or their, like each company has their directors for that specific, sorry, excuse me. So when you talk to those directors, or if you can reach out to like as close to the directors, like anybody in the higher position, and understand, just basically ask very few questions. Where do you see this RPA program, or what do you want to see? Because most companies start with like a pilot, a POC, and they just want to start off small. And they have this goal like, okay, with this like $500 project, I want to become a millionaire. But like you need to ask them like, what is their goal? Like with that, like what do they expect to achieve? Do they want to see like a complete transformation, like all their applications being migrated into cloud and like doing RPA, or like eliminate task force, or like see the employee satisfaction? So when you understand that, then it becomes easier to identify the processes to automate. Because then like if they have like a whole list, then we can easily prioritize which automation solutions to provide them so that they can see that benefit according to their goals.
And then do you usually do that like in a piece? So you start at one part and then build on that?
Yes. So first we start small. First we want to know like, okay,
Right.
first we get that pilot, like get that running, up and running. And you have to like, especially in the consulting world, I'll say that like you have to prove that this proof of concept works. Once the pilot is up and running, they gain that confidence to be able to see like, okay, there's a robot that's literally doing the job. And like once you have like the people that are closer to those robots, you like, here's a trick. I'll give everybody this trick, is that like when you're in consulting and people are very skeptical about these robots, let them name that robot. Okay, let them give it a pet name, because that brings them somehow, it brings an emotional connection to that robot. And that actually like brings that, the realness, like they feel that it's real. So once that happens, then like they start talking to their managers and it goes to their bosses. So somehow it reaches to the CFO's ears. So when that happens, they are able to see that positive impact. Then you start asking questions to the directors level and the program managers and the program leaders. And then they start seeing you in positive light.
Great advice. Thanks.
I put up on screen just some samples. There are more and even more roles than what we had listed on the screen, but lots of different sets of coursework that guide you from the beginning. If you're just brand new and getting started, the Citizen Developer Foundation is where you want to consider starting. That has the basics, but don't feel like there's any reason to limit yourself. All of these courses are fully available for all of us to do. So with that said, any other questions for Priya? All right, Sachi.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, it's a little bit quiet.
Okay. Is this better?
Yes, it is. It is.
Good. So my name is Suchiyo Fang, and I am a senior RPA consultant. And I began my journey in 2017. And I feel like the theme of this whole thing is when you work in RPA, you end up wearing many different hats, because I started out in RPA. Unlike a lot of the previous women here, I went straight into it after college. So I graduated in 2017, and I got an opportunity to take part in a paid training by UST Global, and that'll be talked about later on in the webinar. And I was trained in RPA technologies. I did graduate with a background in information technology. Technically, it's a health science with a concentration in information technology degree, but I did take programming courses, so I was familiar with programming and the software development lifecycle. I never knew about RPA until I got the opportunity to do the paid training. And after the paid training, after the paid training, you're placed at a client for a year. So you get the opportunity to use what you learned in the training on client site to develop processes. And so I worked in several fields, starting out technically as an RPA consultant, but mostly as a developer. A lot of my experience is being an RPA developer. But my official title, 3 out of the 5 years has been an RPA consultant. So this year I got to experience a lot more varying aspects of RPA than just being a developer. And that's kind of been the case throughout my career. I feel like usually when you're an RPA developer, you kind of dabble in being a business analyst at the same time, because sometimes clients don't want to pay for an RPA developer and a business analyst at the same time. So you end up being both if you're an RPA developer. And then other times you're blessed with a business analyst who is just acting as a liaison between you and the business users. This year I did dabble a bit in kind of being a solution architect, but I was still technically an RPA developer on that client project. So they kind of wanted me to be a bit of both there also. So I feel like as a technical consultant, I am working with the client. I am trying to advise them on ways to better their processes, what processes can be automated, what tools, if they're interested in different tools, might be best for the process that they're trying to automate. Because the reality is not every automation tool is made equal. Some are better for certain things than others. I personally find UiPath to be more well-rounded when it comes to its capabilities. And I'm not just saying that because it's the UiPath webinar. But other than that, I feel like when you kind of when you're an RPA consultant, you kind of end up trying many different things. I believe, in my opinion, when you're a technical consultant, it really does help a lot when you have experience in various roles relating to RPA to be able to better advise clients with what might be best for their processes. Any questions?
Sachi, what's the favorite part over your few years of consulting? What's the thing that you find the most rewarding in automation?
Project go lives. I really enjoy project go lives. I really enjoy delivering the final project and seeing how excited people get about when processes go into production and they're working as intended. I feel like when processes are going into production, sometimes you have really bad go lives where it just immediately breaks as soon as it goes in. But when it just goes perfectly smooth, it is the best feeling ever.
I
Awesome.
can totally associate to that, Sachi.
Means you do good work if your go lives are happy times, for sure.
Yeah.
One question that I have for you, Sachi.
Yep.
If you were to look back in your college days, what would be the advice that you would give for anybody who's in college and, like looking to see or consider RPA as a potential career?
Don't be afraid to change paths. I started college as a biomed degree major. My parents wanted a doctor. So uh, I IT definitely was not on my radar at the time. And it's funny because in high school, I did do computer science classes and I really liked it. But I feel like there is this self-imposed bias, and sometimes it is imposed by other people outside yourself when it comes to being a woman in IT. And so I enjoyed my computer science courses, but I wasn't necessarily the best in my class. There are some real geniuses in my class when I was in high school. So I thought, oh, IT wasn't for me. I'll just stick to what I know I'm good at, which was the sciences in biology, chemistry, and physics. Then I started in biomed and I got to organic chemistry and I was just like, I don't really want to actually be a doctor or a pharmacist or actually work with sick people. I'd like to help the medical field. But I realized that actually working with patients and stuff like that wasn't necessarily for me. And I didn't really have the motivation to put in all that effort after realizing this. So I switched to IT. I started taking IT courses, and that mixture of me starting out in biomed and then finishing off with computer science and IT courses is what got me a health IT degree. So definitely, I think the biggest challenge is unlearning that bias. And I feel like if you're already here in this webinar, you've already unlearned that bias or interested in IT, knowing that it's not, knowing that how people view women in IT is not necessarily the best. So congratulations for being here. But also, don't be afraid to take chances. I think don't be afraid to take chances. Don't be afraid to change. If you feel like you're stuck in something just because you've invested all that time in it, just don't fall into the sunken cost fallacy. Just go for it.
That's awesome. You can tell your parents to be proud that they've got a robot doctor.
I mean, they're proud of me now.
All right, other questions? All right, next up, we have Bruna.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bruna Cavalcante. I'm Brazilian, and this is the first time I speak English in public, so I'm very nervous. I work as RPA developer with UiPath since 2019, and now I do lectures and classes about RPA too. I am one of the organizers of the UiPath community chapter São Paulo, and my mainly target audience is Brazilian community interested in joining a tech career or in a career transition to RPA. And so in a country with 214 million of people here in Brazil, only 5% of Brazilians speak English. It's a big problem. But 1% have total fluency in the language. And it's not my case. UiPath Academy course are all in English, and most Brazilians are not familiar with English. So this discourages them from starting their studies with us. This is a big challenge. Next Saturday, I will go to England to try to improve my English for 1 month. And my dream is become MVP this year. So I need to understand and speak English a little. I don't know how it goes, but at least I will try. It's very important to bring as much content as possible in Portuguese, just like me and William Bless do. And besides that, 28% of IT professionals here in Brazil are women. So as part of my work too, I also encourage the female audience to join on technology area through RPA. That was a little a bit of what I brought about me for you. Thanks.
Thank you, Bruna. Yeah, and I
Great
just
job.
want to say too, Bruna reached out to me about, it's been about 9 months now, and she's done an amazing job with the chapter in Sao Paulo, and she is co-working with Bill, who's on the call as well, who's an MVP. So that's a great example of how people are really trying to adopt this technology and share it, and are passionate about even learning English in order to help their countries. So we're really proud to have you here tonight.
I love that you made a leadership role without anyone's permission, that you decided you were going to fix a problem and are pursuing that, and you don't need anybody opening up a job for you. You're doing it. So you're a leader of your own. I think that's inspirational.
Good job, Bruna.
Thanks.
I'm rooting for Bruna to become an MVP, the first female Brazilian MVP.
Yes.
Yes. Here in Brazil, if I conquer this title, I will be the first woman to conquer this title.
Awesome. Any other questions for Bruna? All right. So I'm sure you guys heard in Sachi's discussion about the paid program that she was a part of that trained her on automation and led to a career. So we invited Olwen to come speak with us about that program a little bit more, so all of you can hear further about it.
Yeah, good. I'm in Singapore this morning, so I think it's afternoon over there, right? So good afternoon, everyone. I've been part of the Step It Up program for 6 years and had the pleasure of having Satya go through the program. It's an award-winning program by USD Global. USD is a consulting organization, but they find it very important to train their employees in whatever skill set is needed to support our clients. The Step It Up program came into play when our CEO found, with talking to the clients, that there were needs for talent and specifically women in technology. So he launched the Step It Up program, which basically is a program that trains in a specific skill set with, at the end of it, so a skill set is identified up front. We select candidates to go through a specific length of training, and those candidates are actually placed on site with the client to practice what they've learned, but also with the goal of getting a full-time offer with that client. So one of our training is the UiPath, and we know that, you know, there's great need for, RPA, there's great need for RPA developers. And the good thing is there are opportunities for women and for folks who are interested in developing this skill set to go through this specific training. We've had over 50 clients have participated. We've had over 1,000 graduates, and those graduates are working as entry level. They start off, but they're able to progress in their career within the skill set and the job functions that they decided to walk into. Just a little bit more about the Step It Up program and how it can give you that additional training. It's a program that actually gives the technical skills, but it also gives soft skills, and it also connects you with a mentor. And why is that important? Because when you have that support in place, you're able to progress and to grow further along into the career that you're looking to kind of build up from the bottom up. The requirements that we look for folks to enter the program is a bachelor's degree in any, it does not have to be a CS degree. It's just a 4-year degree. If you're a military veteran, we take your services instead of a degree. We put you through an assessment test that measures reading, math, and analytics, nothing that you need to study for. But once you pass that test, you're invited to an interview. It's not a long drawn out interview. The interview lasts about an hour, but it's 2 parts. It's a roundtable discussion, and then it's a one-on-one interview. So you get to see everyone who's trying to get a seat in the class. And then we have a one-on-one interview. Once you're selected to go through the training, you're not competing with anyone. Everyone who we select, there's a position for you. But we assume that you know nothing, and we build up on from 0 up into a specific area where you would like to, if it's RPA, we'll outline every step within the RPA process that you need to be functional and valuable to the team that you'll be working in at the end of the day. Post-training, we offer support through a coach. That coach is someone who's there. They're there during the classroom, but they're also there once you're on the job to make sure that you're progressing, to make sure that if you are running into any issues, that they're there to help you resolve that. That if you need extra training, we're there to make sure that you receive that extra training so that you continue to improve yourself and continue to be a value to, once again, to the team that you're working for. The training pre-COVID, the training was all done on site at the location close to where you'll be working following the training. Lately, we've been doing, of course, with COVID, we've done our courses virtually. And we're still doing virtual training, but sometimes we are doing kind of a hybrid where you're on site sometimes, or it's a virtual training other times. There is a live instructor, so it's not that you're listening to videos. There is actually someone there that's going through the coursework with you. We just started an RPA on Monday. Right now, I know that we'll have more in the future. I don't have exact dates, but if anyone is interested in RPA or any other technologies, let me know, and I'm happy to share more information. One thing I did forget, Satya did mention that the training is paid. We don't ask you to pay us. We actually pay you as you go through the training. It's 8 to 5, or you decide that you actually as a team would decide what time you want to start, but it's an 8-hour-a-day training, 5 days a week with a little bit of homework. And at the end of the training, there's a capstone project as well. So if there's any questions, I know I covered a lot, but if you have any questions, please let me know.
All right, and just to reiterate qualifications, it's veterans, women, and minorities with a 4-year degree to apply, correct?
Yeah, but veterans, we don't require a degree for the vets. We take their service as in lieu of a degree.
Got it. Any other questions for Olwen?
I have a question. And just to clarify, Owen, people can just apply to join a Step It Up America program, correct?
Yeah, I mean, if you have an interest, we reach out to everyone. So if you have an interest, yes, you can. The website is logged there, or you can just search Step It Up and USD, and you can submit your information, and we will reach out. We'll let you know when the next classes are.
So, what's been the success rate? Are people, do they love it and they end up getting jobs and they stay in that career? Or?
Yeah. So just to give you some statistics, from the folks who we select to go through the training, 90% pass. We have a 90% pass rate. We do require 70% average. So some folks drop out, and if they do, it's usually upfront, like within the first month. Of those who graduate, and go on and work on site. 92% of them would work on site. And from those who are working on site, 87% are offered a full-time job following their 12. They all start a 12-month training, but for post the 12-month training, 87% are offered a full-time role with whatever client they're working with. And out of those who are offered a role, 92% are with that client for over 3+ years. So it's a really great, I mean, it's a good success rate that we have to the Step It Up program.
Oh yeah, better than college. Yeah.
Can I also speak a little bit to that question, if that's okay?
Yeah. I guess.
So I was not offered a position at the client I worked at, but I'm still working in RPA. So even if you don't get the position with the client, the skills that you learn through the program is usable to get other positions elsewhere within the same field.
Awesome. Any other
That's
questions?
great.
All right, so we did show the Learning Academy, UiPath Academy on screen. The best place to start if you're brand new is getting started with Citizen Developer, but there are lots of learning paths for any role. You can do any portion of these, you can do all of them, whatever suits you. So we have a short little quiz, and I believe Diana has some prizes for those of you that participate. So it's only 3 questions. We'll get started in just a moment. I want to make sure everyone's prepared and has the website up or their phone out. The faster that you answer these, the more points you get. So feel free to participate and see if you get the top billing, get the prize. So we're going to get started now. All right, the answer to that one was 1/4 of the workforce is women. So about 25%, 26% is the right answer. So let's see our leaderboard. So Sebastian is in first place right now.
Good job.
All right, so on this, we wanted to make sure that you guys plugged into all of the resources that there are to offer. One of the big ways that we can get more women in technology is to make sure that everyone is plugged into the community. So really important. I know people have their preferences. I love Slack to get my questions answered quickly because I'm not that patient if I've hit the wall on something. And it's been great having people that are willing to help out on questions or to answer things when I get stuck. The forum is also great for research. And people are pretty fast about answering things out there too. It's got tons of information, but we don't ever want anyone to feel stuck where they don't feel like they have the resources to continue forward.
Yeah, just one thing, Sebastian, can you, go ahead. Tell me when you're done with the quiz.
Yep. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and start. Yep. Question 2. The right answer here is actually 1960, that the number of women in technology is about equivalent to what it was, sadly, in 1960.
That's wild.
All right, let's see who's the leader now. Looks like Courtney got that one right and puts her in the lead. So one other thing I wanted to mention is that there is a process to get certified, even if you have no job experience or you've just done certifications for yourself or for a charity. You can go take the certification test and show any potential organization that you have what it takes to do RPA work. So don't feel held back. There's nothing that says that you have to do anything first before taking this. So please don't limit yourself with the academy, and don't limit yourself as far as going on to get certified, because it lends credence to your abilities. So it's an excellent way to continue your career journey for sure. And please let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and do the last quiz question. So the way to get additional women's representation in tech is to participate, to be part of the community, to be out there, show your face, and let everyone know that this is what automation looks like. This is what technology looks like, is all of our faces. So final leaderboard, whoever's first here will be our winner. Looks like it's Courtney. Congratulations, Courtney.
Thanks.
That's it for our presentation tonight.
Great.
So if anyone has questions, feel free to go off mute or throw those in chat. Otherwise, we're happy to have everyone's participation and would love to have you next week as we do the last of the 3-part series.
Thanks, Tracy and Diana.
Thank you for
Everyone.
participating, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.